Hello. This is going to be a follow-up video from the Vio laptop disassembly that I put up a while ago. And I did put that Vio laptop back together. The only assembly step that I missed was attaching the display cable to the motherboard. It was too tight down there, I couldn't figure it out. And having thought about it, I like to imagine how they do things at the factory. And they had to make that easier at the factory in order for it to be economical to assemble the things. Remember my saying that it had a longer than usual display cable. I hadn't pulled that up out of the case, and I'm guessing that they don't put that down into the case until they get it attached to the motherboard, and then they fit it down. And I'm guessing, I'm not sure, they probably attach the ribbon cables for the keyboard and the touchpad afterwards. I pulled the hard drive out of it and read it and mentioned to you that I had an interface that I could use to read what was on the drive. This is that interface. There's a little faux leather case here. There's an aluminum extrusion with plastic ends on it, and this end, it's got screws in it to hold it in place right now, and there's not a drive in there. It has a USB interface, so you can plug this into a parallel ATA 2.5-inch hard drive and then fit the whole thing down in this little case, hook that up by USB, and read what's on the drive. And that's what I decided to do. Well, when I hooked it up, the drive didn't even spin up. So this is a no good drive, so I am going to disassemble it. And you wouldn't normally do this unless you had a very clean room and special tools and everything, because taking apart without that is going to ruin the drive. Now, these screws that hold the circuit board here on, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of them, I had to go find a tool. I started this video and then the tools I had didn't include the right thing. So I had to go find the right tool. In this case, a little Husky thing that I bought at Home Depot a number of years ago. And so these are what hold the circuit board on. Now, the circuit board is not so critical, and you can remove that and replace it and not deal with the part of the drive that's a problem. But we're gonna take off the circuit board, and then we're gonna go deeper into this drive, and you'll be able to see how they're made if you haven't seen that before. Now these boards have pressure connectors that there's little pins that touch the board that come off the mechanical part of the drive and that make the connections. So when you fit the board down on, those connections get made in that way. And there'll be two sets of connections. There'll be the data connections from the heads, and there'll be the connection to the drive. So there it comes loose, and it's completely loose and free. And oh, well, that's not a, well, I can't tell. Okay, the drive connection is these little fittings here, and then they fit down onto these little solder blobs on this circuit board. And then the data is over here, and I'm not sure, that came up awfully easily, and I don't see, this is what it fits onto. Okay, there are little metallic spikes sticking up out of that would touch those little solder blobs. So, and I think that's all the screws of this. I'm guessing that's a T1. It's the tool kit that I had here that I was using to take the laptop apart didn't have a small enough Torx bit for that. So that's why I had to get this other one out, and I found that in my toolbox. I wasn't even sure I'd have one the right size, but that one turned out to be right. So there's one T2, I'm guessing, right here. So let's slip that one out. And then we can turn the drive over. There is this little insulating protective piece, and that actually has foam on it. Okay, that might help deaden the noise, I suppose. Now, this is the part you wouldn't want to do unless you had a clean room, because once I break this case open, any dust or oils or anything like that ends up on that hard drive platter, is essentially going to make it unusable. And if you did try to run it up after that, it would crash and ruin it, and you wouldn't be able to get the data off. Now, there's a little foil stick-on cover right there. That's for the vent. Oh, no, that's not the vent. This is the vent over here. It even says right here, do not cover this hole. So let's see if we can pry this cover off here, or if I missed some screws. You know, sometimes you have to pull this label off and there'll be screws up underneath of it. It's acting like that because there's flexibility, it's moving, but it's not coming loose. Yeah, kind of what I thought. And that label is stuck down good, and it's made of relatively thick foil there, so. Now, is that the only other screw in the case holding the lid on? It looks like it. Although it's possible there's one underneath that little cover. Oh, there it comes. And there is what the inside of a floppy hard drive looks like. And I can't tell. I believe this device has two platters. And you can see how shiny those are, and that allows these heads right here to sweep in and out over the surface and read data off of the surface. And I'm moving the heads here by hand. I'm trying to do this without damaging them, even though I have no intention of trying to use this drive. Oh. Well. And of course, then out like that is the park position where the heads aren't on the drive, so that if there is mechanical shock to the device while it's running, it doesn't jam the heads against the platter and create a problem. Now, there will obviously be 4 heads on this. 2 for each platter, one for the top, one for the bottom. And this is the circuit board that makes the connection between the heads and the essentially the drive motherboard here. The other circuit that has to be in here is a circuit that moves the heads. And this piece right here that I just took the screws out of is a magnet. And it's going to be a pretty powerful magnet in order to allow that head arm to move itself back and forth by varying the current in the looks like the heads want to come out with that magnet. Whoops. Well, there's the end of that platter. Okay. So that's the magnet piece there. Yeah. Not as powerful as I was hoping it would be. I'm not even sure what this little mechanism is for. Now they probably have a special tool that you can hold on this to get that screw out without having to touch the platters, because they obviously would have to do that when assembling this drive at the factory. Of course, that would all be done in a clean room, but guess what size that is? I guess pretty close to right. Yeah, that is going to be interesting. Let's see if this little circuit board here will come loose. It's moving. So there we go. Now we can take this and the head assembly, and you can see there that there are two platters, and there are heads to fit on either side of each platter. So in the old days, when you had to tell the computer the number of heads, tracks, sectors, and so forth, this would have been a 4-head drive. Well, since I'm not trying to keep this, I'm going to see if I can hold these platters by the edge and get that screw out. I can already see dirt on that bottom platter. Okay, there's a little spacer ring. So then what's left here is the motor that spins it. Whoops. And as you can see, that's a pretty small motor. It's kind of made one with this aluminum case. So there it is. 1 2.5 inch hard drive. There's the little filter for the vent. All disassembled and ruined. You'll never use this one again. So I probably won't even bother to try to put it back together.